I appreciate your time here on the JoyNews channel. As you can see in your shots, we are very much present at that program happening at the Labadi Beach Hotel, and it's on discussing how to end the illegal felling, salvaging and exportation of rosewood here in Ghana. While we wait for that program to continue, let's bring you the story. An aspiring GJA president, Geht Mensah, says one of the major challenges policymakers in the media space face is the difficulty in preempting technology. Speaking to me after a session with the newsroom, the former journalist shared his thoughts on recent issues, including the regulation of media content and the seeming culture of silence. Here's our interview. From the media to the corporate world, both home and abroad, Mr. Geht Mensah has now decided to be the next president of the Ghana Journalists Association. And I've got him here with me today to tell us why he thinks he should be given the nod. Thank you for your time here, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great. For those who may be in their 40s and 50s, your name may ring a bell, but for the very young people who are watching us, can you just briefly tell us who you are?
Thank you very much. So my name is Geht Mensah. I'm a journalist by profession. I have been within the media space, communication space, for the past 33 years. Worked with Ghanaian Times, worked various roles, worked with graphic. I'm a pioneering member of the Joy FM News File program. I'm a pioneering member of the GTV Breakfast Show. I'm a pioneering staff of Graphic Showbiz. So these are some of the media houses that I have worked with. I served as a member of the board of directors of GBC sometime in 2009. And then I move a bit into corporate communication. So that is Geht Mensah.
And would you like to share with us what exactly you did in the corporate world?
Well, in the corporate world, I worked with Unilever, I worked with Barclays, I worked with Talu Oil, and I worked with Vodafone. I started off as PR manager. By the time I got to Talu, I was the head of communications and investor relations. I worked with Talu both in Ghana and in London, and then I joined Vodafone as Director for External Affairs. I worked with Vodafone for 6 years, 4 years Director for External Affairs, 2 years as Director for External Affairs and Legal. Currently, I'm into consultancy. I run my own consultancy, Comscraft Consult, and I have a number of clients that I work for. So
why GJA president and why now?
I tend to believe that GJA is at a junction where it requires a certain approach to how the association conducts itself and how it engages within the context of its areas of operation. And particularly I'm talking about the issue of a professional association and how it comes across to its members. I'm talking about a professional association and the kind of relationships that it builds that helps it to play the critical role that journalism is expected to play in this country. I think the association needs a profile of a person who has been with the association for a pretty long time, and I have. Forget about the fact that I went a bit into PR. I have forever been close to the association. I'm also talking about the issue of professionalism and respect. We need to start looking at how we continue to build on where we are today in order to ensure that this association and this profession is accorded the respect and the dignity that it deserves. You would realize that from the issues that I've raised so far, I'm drawing close to capacity building, okay? Just like all other professions, things are not static. We need to look at how we position our members to ensure that they are up to the task at every point in time. I wonder whether we have stopped as an association to look at the extent to which advances in technology and the upsurge of social media is having on our practice. These are issues that we should concern ourselves with. I know when it comes to issues or resources for these types of capacity building, we as an association might not have the wherewithal, but I believe we should be resourceful enough, and that is what I'm looking at. We should be looking at a profile, capacity, competence of a president who can open doors, who can knock on the door of the American ambassador and tell him, hello, colleague, you provide all kinds of support for different sectors of the economy, can we look at how we can empower this profession in such a way that it will play its role as the fourth estate of the realm and offer a fair amount of transparency and accountability when it comes to holding people in office accountable for their stewardship. We're talking about that type of capacity building that helps us to ensure that we come across to our audience in the way that they want and in the way that strikes a chord with where this country is moving towards.
So, what would you say to those who say, where have you been all this while? I mean, it's almost as if you just came from nowhere and you think that you deserve to be GJA president?
Well, to those who ask that question, it's because probably they themselves might have been removed from the GJA as an association. And I know that is a challenge for us. That is one of the challenges. The level of apathy is something that has to be mitigated. And so I haven't been anywhere. I have been around. I have continued to pay my dues as a GJA member. I've been, just 2 years ago, I was a member of the GJA 70th Anniversary Planning Committee. I've been involved with the GJA when it comes to mobilizing resources, particularly last year's GJA Awards, for instance. I was at the center of mobilizing resources for the GJA Awards. And so I really haven't been anywhere. And the fact, too, is that for the past 2, 3, 4 years, I have been teaching advanced journalism at the master's level at the School of Journalism. I don't think you can tell a lecturer in advanced journalism that he is removed from journalism, far more removed than those who are in the newsroom. Otherwise, how do I teach them?
Interesting. With all the professions that you mentioned, I'm not sure being a GJA president is as lucrative as that. So I'm sure in the minds of a lot of people, what's in it for you? Why do you want to do this, really?
There are some who tend to see the GJA presidency as a reward or as a trophy. I see it as hard work. I am in this because I think there is work to be done. I am in this because I would want to contribute to properly positioning the association, and that has made me what I am. I am in this because I strongly believe that I have the capacity and I have what it takes to deliver that selfless service that will see this association where it ought to be. I think that we should be able to mobilize a lot more journalists to find attraction in this association. I have not seen it come through in the previous years, and that is why I am in this. I am in this also because, look, I see this as national service, and it is because whatever gives you sustenance ought to be sustained itself. And I think I have gathered enough in terms of experience, in terms of my interaction with journalism, as a profession, to be able to provide that sustenance that would sustain us as a profession.
So at the end of your tenure, what should the benchmark be? What is it? What are those 2 or 3 things that you want us to judge you by and say that this is what he set out to do? Just give me 3 of those things.
3 might not be enough, but I'll try.
Your topmost 3.
At the end of my tenure, thank you. At the end of my tenure, I would want to see, or what you would see would be an association that is highly professional in how they conduct themselves. What you would see is an association that is effectively organized at the level of the secretariat, and also when it comes to the kinds of programs and activities that we roll out. You will see an association that is committed to the welfare of its members, and you also see an association that is the fourth estate of the realm, not just in theory, but in practical terms, by way of what we do, by way of the impact that we make, and by way of the levels at which we operate.
What is your perception of how the public views the association?
I think that a number of factors have connived to deny the association of where it ought to be, okay? One of them is the issue of standards within the association or within the profession. It's led to a situation where the level of respect that is accorded us, I think, has degraded a little bit, and that is one of the strong perceptions that exist out there. I also think that the other perception has to do with the extent to which we actually reflect the realities on the ground. You know, the media is inevitably a reflection of the society that it portrays. And the question always is that, do we always actually reflect what Ghana is at the moment? I know there is a strong contradiction between that thought and the strongly held belief that the media provides for consumers what they want, just as any other product. And I think it is up to us to find a fine balance between responding to the demands of our readers and audience, whilst also trying to play our role as expected of us as the profession that mirrors the society within which you place in terms of the sectors of economy, politics, and the social.
Do you agree with those who say that the standards of journalism have dwindled or gone down as compared to maybe a decade or two ago?
My response to this is that, from a personal point of view and from conversations and observations, standards have fallen, not just in journalism, but across other professions as well. I think as a country, we should start taking stock of where we are currently when it comes to various standards of critical importance to national development and growth. I believe there are those who will tell you that standards have fallen within the medical profession. They will tell you standards have fallen within the teaching profession. They would, and so it is not just the profession of journalism that is suffering from the perception of falling standards. And that is why I think it calls for a national dialogue for us to look at what is it that we are doing within our professional training institutions, within our academic institution, that lead us to think that 20 years ago, this was a wonderful profession of wonderful individuals. Where are all those individuals today? You talk to people in the profession and they will talk about Edward Ameyibo, they will talk about Kweku Sechiado, they will talk about Albert Sam, and they will talk about G. Macaulay. They will talk about people with such passion and reflect the quality that they exposed in this profession. What has happened to us? Where are our Kweku Sechiados of today? Where are our Ayebofos of today? What happened? We need to look at it and determine where is our Sonny Decker? Where are all these guys? We need to find them. And it calls for a national dialogue.
And that brings me to my next question of why these people usually don't stay in the media fraternity in terms of real practice of journalism, because elsewhere you see, and I don't want to mention names, but you can watch international broadcasters and you see grey-haired people, really old, rich in experience, discussing national affairs. But it appears our story here is different. When people hit their mid-30s, early 40s, there's always an exit, if I may say, of all these people who have the rich experience that ideally they should be handing over to the next generation.
You're absolutely right on that, and I think it's an issue that ought to be looked at. If you want my opinion as to why people exit, I think one has to do with the fact that the very structure of our media organizations in this country do not offer enough latitude when it comes to career paths, okay? And so you would realize that somebody might have been on television, on CNN for so many years, but when you check what the person really does, there are a lot of other things that he does, either within the newsroom or outside it, that gives him other aspects of the self-being, the satisfaction that he or she wants. I think that if you come to our media houses, it tends to be a little bit different, and so it gets monotonous over a period of time and people want to explore other things. I guess those are some of the conversations that we need to have to see how we can ensure that we retain that critical mass of journalists with rich experience who will impart to the young and up-and-coming ones in such a way that it would limit the extent to which we talk so fondly about the past.
I mean, since you're vying for GJA president, I'd like to take your thoughts on an issue that trended a while, and well, it's still, you know, in the public domain, but not as it was a few weeks back, and it has to do with the alleged killing of a 10-year-old boy associated with content on television. This sparked debates on social media. Even here in our office, we had conversations with the NMC boss, and quite recently we saw a dialogue on the broadcasting bill. What are your thoughts on how to deal with the problem, finding the balance between censure and, you know, the freedom of people to express themselves?
I think one of the biggest challenges when it comes to social media and the entire gamut of advances in technology that we are seeing in recent times is the fact that inevitably policy is having to chase these advances. It's difficult to anticipate where we would be next year when it comes to technology in order to prepare for it by putting in place the right policies, the right legislative framework in order to be able to harness the advantages of technology in such a way that it inures to our benefits and it mitigates some of these negative aspects. For me, that is one of the biggest challenges that we are having. And it's not just